Hey Avengers, welcome back to the initiative. I'm back. I was gone for a few weeks because of school. School has been like really intense. But yeah, I had to postpone like my previous Marvel and makeup videos I had planned for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I had planned initially to do every single episode every week, just like how I did for WandaVision, but I had to stop because of school. So here I am now. I'm going to basically just recap what happened the past 3 episodes while I do my makeup. I'm gonna do my everyday makeup routine, and yeah, that's really it. I'm so mad because I had filmed this yesterday, but I had like the worst case of allergies, and I was sneezing and sniffling the entire time of the video. Like the entire video I was just like, here we go. I'm gonna start my makeup routine, how I would do my makeup if I was going outside, like literally like just my basic makeup. Nothing special, no graphic liner. I was so excited about The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I had loved Bucky and Sam together from the previous movies, Civil War specifically. When I first saw Civil War, like, they were one of my favorite parts of Civil War. I mean, Civil War is probably one of my favorites in the MCU. Wow, a moment in time. Like, we finally have a Falcon and a Winter Soldier show. Are you kidding? When they had first announced the MCU lineup for Phase 4, and they mentioned a Falcon and Winter Soldier show, I combusted into flames. I'm not even exaggerating. I was very excited because I love them both together in the MCU. They are so amazing. Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie have like the best chemistry in the world. So I was just like all for it. This was my #1 show that I was really excited about. And then I watched WandaVision and I became a full-on Wanda stan. Like, when did that happen? I lost the plot. Clearly, I love Sam and Bucky together. I just always thought it would be fun if they had a movie or a TV show together. Like, that was one of my goals for the MCU, for them to have their own movie together, because it was gonna happen eventually. And then we saw the ending of Endgame when Steve gave up his shield and gave it to Sam. Like, oh my god, that was the very first moment of us seeing Sam taking on the mantle until the show inevitably started their new plot of Sam going on the journey of choosing to become Cap. Like, he's not gonna go into it like how Steve was. Like, no, he has a choice and he's gonna make that choice eventually, and it's really exciting to watch. I simply just cannot wait. Each episode is jam-packed with like plot and action and character development, which I personally appreciate. I love character-driven stories. It's my favorite type of story. So good. It's so good. I love it. I love the direction that they're going in. They're focusing on Sam choosing to become Cap. A lot of people don't really like Sam as the Falcon. They're not really familiar with his character. So they brought him in to join Cap during The Winter Soldier, which is one of the best MCU movies. That movie is amazing. If you haven't watched it already, go watch. If you haven't watched, listen, these are the movies you have to watch. You have to watch Captain America: The First Avenger. You gotta watch The Winter Soldier. You gotta watch Civil War. And then you gotta go and watch Infinity War and Endgame. Like, you need to watch all 5 of those movies to understand what's going on here. And some bonus movies. You can watch Black Panther, of course. If you haven't watched Black Panther, where are you? Where have you been? Go ahead and do that, and then come back and watch this and watch The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because you're gonna go into the show not knowing anything and being confused the entire time and just being like, okay, what the hell am I watching? This is like some John Wick Rush Hour type of shit, and it kind of is. It's kind of like that. So I really am enjoying the premise of the show, the whole theme of the show, and the themes that they're gonna go into. I'm happy they're giving these characters like their own moments to shine, and it's just amazing to see how these Disney Plus shows are giving these really small characters, basically developing them from like the ground up and giving them the development that they deserve. I love it. I love it. So we're finally learning and getting to know Bucky as himself, because the only times we really saw him as himself was in Captain America the First Avenger and then a portion of the Civil War. Yeah, I'm very excited about this show. They're doing a lot of different things, and I like how the Disney Plus shows are going into different like genres. So this genre is more action-packed than WandaVision. WandaVision is completely different from this. If you loved WandaVision, you may not like this show because it's entirely different. Like, it's an entirely different genre, so I wouldn't expect anybody to like want to, you know, watch this show if they're into like witches and all of that. So let's go and recap every single episode so far. What we know so far is that Sam gave up the mantle. He gave up the shield. He gave it up to the Smithsonian, and he chose not to be Cap. And we see like a little cameo from Rhodey. Rhodey is obviously Tony's best friend. So good that they brought him back for this show. They actually brought him back just so they can tie him into Armor Wars. This show is gonna jump into a few different properties in the MCU in the future, so it's gonna tie into Armor Wars. It's probably gonna tie into Black Widow in some shape or form, and then we're also probably going to tie it into Black Panther 2 somehow, since we're getting a portion of Wakanda in this story that I was not expecting. That was really just like a big surprise. It's crazy. Anyways, so yeah, the government literally thanks Sam for doing the right thing by giving up the shield, and it's so sick. Like, they are so y'all don't even know how mad I was when I was watching that. Like, are you kidding me? Like, Steve chose Sam to be Cap. He didn't choose Bucky. He didn't choose anybody else. He chose Sam to take the shield. Sam chose to give it up. And we learn why. He knows how important it is to have that shield and have that mantle as Cap. So for somebody that looks like Sam, somebody who's black, to take on the Captain America mantle would be extremely groundbreaking in the MCU. So that's why it's a lot of pressure. We dive into that theme of racism in the MCU, which is insane. I didn't really expect them to go that route. This isn't the first time that we've seen racism explored in the MCU. We've actually seen it in Black Panther, which was one of the reasonings as to why Killmonger became the villain of the story. And it was because of his black experience in America that led him to the point of wanting to become king of Wakanda and then bringing their Wakandan weapons to everywhere in the world, to every black person in America, to take back the governments of the world and take back power. So that was a very big theme in Black Panther. So this isn't the first time that we've seen racism explored. The show is actually written by Malcolm Spellman. He has been writing the show, and he purposely chose to go in this route for Sam's storyline because he wanted this show to explore that for Sam and for his development. And so we will get to see how his experience in America is going to cause him to not take up the mantle. I just want to see what happens. Everyone in the show keeps telling Sam that, you know, the shield is important to people. He thinks that he knows that he's not the right person for this, and that nobody can be Steve, nobody can replace Steve, and Sam fully believes that nobody deserves the shield, period. The government obviously did not agree with that. During Sam's journey of becoming Cap, he actually continues on working as an Avenger for like the Air Force, for the military. He befriends First Lieutenant Joaquin Torres. So Torres in the comics is actually another version of the Falcon, but his version was actually created by the Power Broker who is in this show. He was created by the Power Broker and was experimented on, and during those experiments he gained Falcon-like powers and actually grows wings, very similar to like Angel from the X-Men. Crazy that they brought Tora's in, and he is one of the only Latino representations in the MCU. He is just a friend of Sam's, and he actually helps him discover these this organization called the Flag Smashers. It seemed like a terrorist organization at first, but we learn that they're actually just a rebel group trying to heal the world because of the blip. I guess when half of the people decimated, everything was better for them. Apparently, the blip has like a big theme in this show. The blip is a very big, important piece to the show. So a lot of that comes from, you know, people coming back to, you know, the entire world, the entire universe. And because of that, people had gotten displaced, and we see a little bit of that in Far From Home when Aunt May, she like leads an entire donation center, I believe, for displaced people from the blip. May and Peter, they were displaced as well, because when they got back to their, well, when May got back to her apartment, there were people already living there. So they're definitely exploring that entirely, and it's insane because, like, you know, this, they could go so many different ways. We did explore it a little bit in WandaVision, actually seeing a lot more of the consequences of the blip and how that affected people who were already living, and you know, after the Avengers brought everybody back, now we have even more consequences. Now we jump back to Bucky, and Bucky wakes up from like a Winter Soldier flashback, and he keeps having flashbacks throughout the show. Where is my blush? Throughout the show, he has like these flashbacks as the Winter Soldier, and you see him going through just like what he did as the Winter Soldier, and it's very intense. The show brings back the score from the Winter Soldier, which is fun. I love the score from the Winter Soldier. We end up seeing him kill an innocent man, and it's just like a terrible nightmare that he's waking up from. We see Bucky meeting up with an elderly man, and I guess like that's his friend. He just befriends this like elderly man, and they go to a bar and they're bonding. He talks about his son that passed away, and obviously you put two and two together and you realize that his son is the man that Bucky killed as the Winter Soldier. The trauma, man. Anyway, the man, his friend, basically hooks him up with some girl, and he goes on a date. Oh my god, the fact that Bucky went on a date, are you kidding? It came from a fan fiction. Like, it was literally from a fan fiction. He ends up leaving the date because, you know, he tries to make amends with this man, and that is the entire theme of Bucky's storyline in this show, is him trying to make amends for the things that he's done as the Winter Soldier. So because he was pardoned as an Avenger, because, you know, everybody brought back everybody in Endgame, he has to go to like a mandated therapy session with this woman who is kind of sus, in my opinion. I just don't really trust anybody in this show. The entire goal in this show is to make amends with the people that he's wronged because of his time as the Winter Soldier. So it's a lot of Bucky's storyline is him trying to deal with his trauma and trying to rest because he's been fighting his entire life, and as the Winter Soldier as well, the trauma that he's caused and the trauma that he's gained as the Winter Soldier and working for Hydra. So it's a lot, and he's mourning all of the people that he had killed and affected, and he's also mourning Steve. Hello. So yeah, the entire episode is about going back and forth with Bucky and Sam and their individual lives, and we see Sam's entire life in Louisiana. I never really thought that we would actually like get like a glimpse of his hometown and like his family, learning about his family. And so we meet his sister, who is a sweetheart. I love her. And apparently Sam is an uncle, and his name is Uncle Sam. They didn't even try. Sam's intentions in Louisiana is to help his sister with the family fishing business that they've had forever. And yeah, he thinks because he's an Avenger that he could save everybody, and he can't. So In this episode, we also get a scene of Sam trying to help Sarah get a loan to save the family's fishing boat business, and we learn that the Avengers are actually broke. And it's kind of shocking that they gain no monetary support from the government or even just Tony in general, especially after saving everybody in Endgame and just changing the course of humanity as we know it in the MCU. And this entire scene with the bank teller is just very weird. It just seemed like a lot of microaggressions just thrown at Sam and Sarah and Sam's Falcon alias. And this bank teller had like a lot of nerve asking for some photos and autographs after declining their loan. Like, it was just really weird. So I'm just gonna show y'all a TikTok that I found that kind of explained this a little bit further.
Okay, so let's talk about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier and how it's already bringing up ideas of racism and microaggressions in the MCU. If you haven't scrolled away by this point, you're pretty much begging for spoilers. So parts of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show is based off of the all-new Captain America run. This is where Sam Wilson took up the mantle of Captain America. And in that story alone, Falcon had to deal with the population that believed that Cap shouldn't have gave his mantle to a black man. And in the show, we pretty much see the same thing when it comes to Sam. Because even though Sam very well may be an Avenger, out on the street, he is still a black man that faces microaggressions every day. At this point, it is known that Steve Rogers gave Sam the Captain America mantle, but Sam donates it to the Smithsonian, and this guy said it was the right decision. Only so he can take it out of the Smithsonian and crown a new Captain America. Sam is an Avenger, he should be qualified for that mantle. But that's not all. Let's talk about the bank. First off, assuming Sam is a famous athlete before recognizing he's a freaking Avenger is problematic. Then getting a selfie with him while denying a loan, equally problematic. Just, wow.
Torres goes and explores Europe to find the Flag Smashers, and he finds them and he learns that they are super duper strong. It's like, okay, they're super soldiers, like that's the only explanation. Flag Smashers, I feel like they're definitely going to be the type of villain that kind of like similar to the Skrulls in Captain Marvel. If you haven't seen Captain Marvel, I'm sorry, this is kind of a spoiler, but the Skrulls in Captain Marvel were originally villains in the movie, and then we realized their true intentions, and their intentions were actually just they were running away because they were being murdered. Their entire race was being murdered, so they went and found refuge elsewhere, and that's the entire theme for Captain Marvel, is just saving these Skrulls and finding safety for their own race. So it's very similar to that. I think that the Flag Smashers are just trying to help displaced people, help the people that were affected by the blip. And Harley Morgenthau gets introduced in the next episode. Harley Morgenthau is derived from the original comic character Carl Morgenthau, who is the Flag Smasher, like the only Flag Smasher. So they ended up making that Flag Smasher mantle into a team of Flag Smashers. At the end of this episode, we get introduced to fake Captain America. Yay. His name is John Walker, and he is the new Captain America, and we get into him to the next episode. So let's jump into the next episode. Let's talk about it. It's a lot in this episode. Like, it's a lot. Clearly the government didn't give a shit about Sam's gesture of leaving the shield to the Smithsonian, so they gave it to this dude, and he's literally just an army guy. Like, he's just an ordinary guy, but he's super skilled in combat and intelligence. They thought that he would be the best Cap. We see a little bit of him getting introduced during Good Morning America, and they reveal like his desire to live up to Steve Rogers and to live up to the Captain America mantle. And we see Bucky watching Good Morning America, and he's just like... So John Walker in the comics was a US Army veteran who went through the power brokers process to enhance his strength in hopes of honoring the Steve Rogers Captain America mantle. He was chosen to take up the mantle of Captain America when Steve Rogers retired in the comics, but in the comics he's a hard Christian, right-wing conservative, and he believes that his country is before anything else, and so he establishes himself as US agent when Captain America becomes Cap. So when Steve Rogers returns in the comic, John Walker reestablishes himself as US agent. So if Sam becomes Cap, John Walker will become US agent. If you're familiar with DC Comics and you're familiar with Peacemaker, he's very similar to that. He will get peace and justice the way he thinks it is, and his version of getting justice for somebody is very ruthless. He is a very ruthless character, and this character is gonna be very interesting. He's played by Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's son. Kurt Russell played Ego in Guardians of the Galaxy. It's crazy. So they also redo the Captain America theme. I don't know how the song goes, but it's very much like a marching song, and they changed it into like a homecoming type of beat. Bucky joins Sam on following the Flag Smashers because obviously Taurus told Sam about the Flag Smashers, and so they go on a journey together, and Sam is very reluctant to have Bucky on his like side, just because like Sam wants to do everything on his own, and Bucky is just hella pissed at him the entire time. So Bucky's entire goal is to convince Sam that he made a big mistake, and they find the Flag Smashers, and they learn that the Flag Smashers are being led by a girl, Harley Morgenthau. Sam and Bucky ambush the group, or they try. They learn that they're hauling vaccines, so it's just like very much confusing to them, but the Flag Smashers are very super strong and powerful, and Sam and Bucky try to fight them, and they can't overpower super soldiers. These people are strong as hell. Carly is strong as hell. He breaks Red Wing, R.I.P. Red Wing. Anyways, they realize they're all souped up, so they lose the fight, and then John Walker and his buddy Alamar Hoskins, aka Battlestar, try to help, but then they're also overpowered because they're just ordinary humans. They're not like, you know, they're not juiced up with the super soldier serum. So yeah, we get this glorious scene though.
Could have used that shield. Get off of me.
I was living for this. So Sam and Bucky come to the conclusion that they are not a part of the big three that they were talking about earlier, which is androids, aliens, or wizards. I love that they are like kind of referencing Doctor Strange in this one. I love when the shows or like the movies, like why can't I open this? Reference the older MCU movies or the older shows or like whatever characters. I just live for it. And the goal is to learn where they got the serum from. John Walker and Alamar Hoskins, their goal for this episode is basically to, you know, recruit Sam and Bucky and try to get them on their side. But Sam and Bucky are very reluctant because they don't trust John Walker. And John Walker kind of insults them by calling them sidekicks. It's just like, ugh, can't stand you, man. Wipe that smile off your face. I hate you. So Walker also mentions the big three when he talks to them. So it alludes to the fact that they were spying on Sam through his equipment. So after Sam and Bucky like go their separate ways from Walker and Hoskins, and then Bucky tells him that he wants to introduce him to somebody. We are introduced to Isaiah Bradley. Are you kidding me? Isaiah Bradley is known as the Black Captain America, or just simply Captain America in the comic canon universe, so Earth 616. He was one of 300 black soldiers who were used as test subjects as a part of a government attempt to recreate the super soldier serum. Isaiah was the only survivor and took the mantle of Cap and fought as Cap for a long period of time. The military did not like this and sentenced Isaiah to life in prison and was released after 17 years. Isaiah is one of the most coveted and legendary heroes in the black community of the Marvel Comics canon, but his involvement as Cap was kept a secret. In the MCU canon, Isaiah was in prison for 30 years, not 17, and he had ran into the Winter Soldier in the 50s, explaining how Bucky remembers him when no one else did. In this scene, we meet Eli Bradley, who later becomes the leader of the Young Avengers as Patriot. Eli gets his powers from a blood transfusion with Isaiah, so we'll probably see that in another movie or show or in this show. So let's see what happens. So I mean, I told y'all we were gonna get the Young Avengers. I didn't know when, and I didn't know how many we were gonna get, but we're getting a lot, clearly, which is very exciting. I am so excited that we're finally like getting the Young Avengers in the MCU. It's just very exciting for me. I'm very excited about it. Okay. Anyways, the MCU just never knew about Isaiah Bradley. They never mentioned him to anybody, and the only person that knew about him was Bucky, and Bucky actually fought him in the 50s. I think that's what they said, in like 1954, I believe. We also see a clip of him with his super soldier strength throwing a tin to the wall, and like it stuck on the wall. Like, wow, it's insane. But he refuses to help Sam and Bucky find out where the super soldier serum came from, so he kicks them out of the house. Yeah, Sam is pissed at Bucky for not telling anybody, especially him, and Steve, about this man, Isaiah Bradley. And yeah, and then Sam is racially profiled by the police. Like right after we see this intense scene with him and Isaiah and Bucky, and then he's racially profiled by the police. Apparently this is gonna be like just a slither of racism that Sam will probably endure in the show. Like I said, the goal for the show was to explore the theme of racism for Sam's perspective. They want to make sure that racism is not glossed over in this show, and we can clearly see that. But yeah, the police literally just racially profile him, and then they realize that he's an Avenger. They don't arrest him, but they do arrest Bucky. They arrest Bucky because he missed a therapy session. A part of his pardon is to go to every single therapy session. Bucky actually gets bailed out by John Walker, and basically a part of bailing him out was to go to therapy right then and there, from jail to therapy. So Sam goes to therapy with them, and the therapist basically makes them do couples therapy. Literally do couples therapy. They have a soul gazing exercise. They're facing each other, their legs are crossing between each other, and they're just Sam and Bucky, the best part of the show, them together, excellent. We learn a little bit more as to why Sam just can't take on the mantle, and he says that it's something that Steve and Bucky would never understand.
Maybe he was wrong about you, and if he was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me.
That shit tore my heart in two. Anyways, so they get released from therapy, and then they start walking and trying to figure out where they can get the serum, and then John Walker stops them, and they ask both of them to join them one last time. And Bucky and Sam obviously say no. They don't want to do that shit. Why would they? John Walker's okay, so stay out of my way. Shut up. He's dumb. Oh my god, I can't stand him. Fuck off. Nobody likes you. Bucky and Sam have no leads for the super soldier serum. They go to somebody who knows Hydra like the back of their hand, and we see Zemo in the German prison. Okay, let's get started on the third episode, which is my favorite episode thus far. Lived for it, loved it. I was so hyped watching this episode. Got a lot about these two characters in particular, and let's get into it. Yeah, so Fake, Cap, and Battlestar look for the super soldiers on their own, but with no luck, and they get no answers, and they get no respect from anybody. They literally spit in John Walker's face. Nobody's scared of him. Nobody respects him because they don't know him. He's just some guy. So obviously nobody's gonna respect him. Not even the criminals. They just don't care. They don't care. And so their goal this entire episode is to find out the information that Sam and Bucky already have. And Bucky orchestrates a prison riot to break out Zemo, and Zemo agrees to help them, and then Bucky basically breaks him out. And while this happens, he's Bucky's telling Sam theoretically if Zemo was to get out of prison, and while he's telling him the story it's actually happening. I love that trope. That's one of my favorite tropes. I lived for it. So he escapes from the prison, and it seemed too easy. He got out of jail really easily. What? How? It seemed like a maximum security prison. It's just very, very confusing. How do you get out of there so fast? I don't know. Anyways, so he agrees to help them stop the Flag Smashers. Sam is very reluctant to have Zemo on the team with them. But this is their only lead and their only way to figure out what's gonna happen. And yeah. Zemo needs to go back to prison. He needs to go back. Some way, one way or another, he needs to go back. Anyways, apparently Zemo is rich. When did that happen? Because in the MCU, they made it seem like he was just some normal guy who just happened to be a scientist and like lost his family in Sokovia, and then they make him the comic book version character. Like, randomly though, like they just didn't know what to do, so they're just like, oh, let's just bring in the Baron Zemo version, which is great and convenient for Sam and Bucky because now they have like a private jet and like, you know, they have all these resources. So yeah, Zemo is hella rich. He's conveniently rich, and he provides them a ton of help with like traveling and helps them get to Madripoor. Madripoor is where they're going to find out where the serum came from. Zemo's the only person that has the lead, so obviously they have to follow him. Madripoor is like a criminal sanctuary type of city, island kind of place, and they meet with a high-ranking criminal named Selby. And Madripoor is like a super important location in the comics, and it's a very Wolverine focused location, so a lot of people theorize that we would see Wolverine in this episode somehow, but obviously they are not going to they're not gonna bring Wolverine out of nowhere, you know what I mean? So they have to introduce the mutants somehow, so obviously they're gonna start with dropping locations first before we meet the mutants. So yeah, very, very exciting. Finally learn a little bit more about Zemo's like new characterization. Like, he becomes a totally different character. He's not, and I repeat, not the same character from Civil War. Like, he's like kind of funny himself, and he's also cultured apparently. Like, what? Like, this entire scene I was just like, okay. Anyways, in Madripoor they have to go undercover, so Bucky has to become the Winter Soldier again, and then I think Sam becomes like this, like, I don't know, this socialite. It's just random, and like, I don't know, for this episode they kind of like pushed Sam and Bucky to the side and like really didn't like care about them, and they focused heavily on Zemo and Sharon Carter, who we meet in a few minutes. With the Flag Smashers, we kind of see more of like a vulnerable side to Harley Morgenthau, as she sits beside like a woman who I believe like raised her, I guess, and the woman is dying of pneumonia. And yeah, so I read that there was like extensive reshoots to the show, because the show had a very big subplot pertaining to the pandemic and the epidemic or whatever. Like, I guess they were gonna do like a pandemic subplot, and it was too on the nose and too similar to COVID, so they had to reshoot a lot of the episodes so that, you know, it wouldn't tie too deep into COVID. This show covers a lot of real life shit, so it wouldn't be like too like far out there. Why can't we just get a show about two idiots falling in love? I mean, Sam and Bucky, by the way. So they finally meet Selby in Madripoor, and she reveals the power broker hired a former Hydra scientist who is Dr. Nagel, and he recreated the super soldier serum that Erskine created in Captain America the First Avenger, but it was, I guess, a lot more perfected and stronger. So yeah, Sam's identity is exposed because Sarah calls him and he didn't turn off his phone. Is he dumb? Anyways, so Selby is killed, and then a bounty is placed on Bucky, Sam, and Zemo because they were the only ones there, and it just seems sus. So this scene is like super John Wick, and that's probably because John Wick creator wrote this episode. So it's a lot of like John Wick kind of scenes, action sequences, and then they're saved by Sharon Carter from the Winter Soldier in Civil War, Agent 13. So yeah, she comes back, yay! She is totally different now though. So her goal is to take Zemo in because, you know, he ruined everybody's life, and hers included, when Sharon took the shield and Sam's wings and gave it to them in Civil War and went like, you know, rogue. So she's out for blood. She's gonna take Zemo in, but she decides to help them instead, obviously. And so Sharon had been living as a fugitive and like an art dealer. Like, she was dealing art, like real art, and then there's this whole party scene, and it's mad funny because it's like so serious. Sam and Bucky are just like on the lookout, and then you see Zemo like this. why? Sam and Bucky, they find Dr. Nagel, and then Sharon like kicks asses. Like, she beats all these guys up to save like Sam and Bucky and Zemo's ass while they're interrogating this doctor. Yo, wow. Her character did a full 180. She's not even like the same character at all. Like, she's a lot more sassier. She says like little snarky remarks. She's like, it's just weird. Like, where did it come from? I feel like Zemo's was a little bit more natural, but hers was very like blunt. Like, I am not the same person that you remember me as. So I don't know if she blipped away or she was there the 5 years. Kind of would explain why she's so established in this Madripoor island. So they learn that Nagel recreated 20 doses of the serum thanks to the blood samples of an American test subject who is very clearly Isaiah Bradley. And Harley Morgenthau stole those serums and gave it to the Flag Smashers and herself. And before they learn more, Zemo like kills a doctor. The lab is then destroyed, and then there's a full John Wick action sequence at the docks, and then Zemo with his comic book mask, he like steals a getaway vehicle and like takes them away. He's like, hop in, losers. Sharon stays behind, and like all she wants is a pardon in America so she can go back and like see her family. But she like hops into this car and she's like, I gotta tell you something. We got a big problem. Maybe a few big problems. Like, what? Like, where did you come from with that? Like, I feel like she's probably working for the power broker, which would explain the sudden change. I don't know, like, she's just very much a totally different person, so that explains that. Fake Cap and Battlestar arrive in Berlin, and they figure out that Sam and Bucky help Zemo escape, and so they have to figure out how the hell they're going to, deal with this. The Flag Smashers, we see a little bit more of them, and they raid the GRC storage facility, and they like for supplies, and then they end up actually killing people, which is insane. And then Carly's like, this is the only language they understand, which is true. Want to make a statement while also helping these people. So yeah, Zemo, Bucky, and Sam, they travel to Latvia, I guess, to search more about Carly and her purpose, and they just want to figure out how the hell that this happened. Bucky sees these Wakandan Kamoyo beads. Hello. Oh my god, guys, I literally once I saw the Kamoyo beads, I literally was like, no, I was so I recognized them so fast. I was like, no way. Who are we gonna see right now? Oh my god, I almost teared up. And then we see one of the Dora Milaje, who is the second in command, Ayo. We see her, and she basically wants Zemo, because Zemo killed King T'Chaka, and they mentioned this in the beginning. They actually mentioned Wakanda twice in this show, foreshadowing this. Oh my god, I should have seen it coming. Like, we all should have seen it coming. Are you kidding? So yeah, now we're connecting with Wakanda now for this show, which is crazy. Oh my god, it's just so exciting. It's crazy that they're bringing in Wakanda. Like, I wasn't expecting that at all. Like, out of every property they could have like brought in for the show, to bring in Wakanda is a big deal. So I'm really excited, and I literally have no theories as to why they could connect it. Only reason why they could connect the show with Wakanda is because obviously Bucky had taken up on the alias of the White Wolf. We know that Zemo killed King T'Chaka, so we are going to see the consequences of that. Wakanda is not finished with Zemo. So that is it. That's the entire mid-season recap. I'm so shocked by the show because I just wasn't expecting them to take on so many different topics, and I wasn't expecting them to bring in Isaiah Bradley and Eli Bradley as well. If you told me that they were gonna do that, I would not have believed you. That is basically the show. I'm really excited about this show. This show probably is my entire life right now. is literally one of the only things I care about. I'm super excited to see what they do with Sam as Captain America. They're going to make him Cap. It's inevitable. And spoiler alert, if you don't want to know anything about the show, spoiler alert. Hello, we know that he becomes Cap. But to see him in this suit, we are going to pass away. Like, we are going to just panic. Just go into panic. Oh my god. I can't wait for it. I want to know what they're going to do with Bucky and Wakanda. I want to know what they're going to do with Zemo. I don't think he's going to be an ally to Sam and Bucky for that long. I believe that he's going to go rogue and he is going to go against them. He might probably want to lead the Flag Smashers instead of fighting them. He mentions that he was very excited to come face to face with Carly as if he knew her before. If Sam becomes Cap, what are they gonna do with John Walker? What happens to him? Does he become US agent? How they're going to make Sam Cap at the end of this show, while there only being 3 episodes left of the show. Like, we really don't know anything, and it's very, oh my god, I'm very excited, y'all. Like, it's a big deal. Let me finish off my makeup and then I'll come back and I'll basically close the video out. So that is the end of this video. This is my look for today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I appreciate you waiting on me to upload. I'm so sorry that I haven't uploaded in such a long time, but you guys know I have school to worry about, so yeah. But I will be uploading up until the end of this season, I guess. I will upload on next weekend to discuss episode 4, and then the next weekend for episode 5, and then the next week for episode 6, which is the finale. So you guys got me for the next 3 weeks until I go back into hiatus. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in and for enjoying these videos. I appreciate the messages and the comments. Let me know if you guys want a more in-depth version of a tutorial for this look. If you love it that much, let me know in the comments. I will do a tutorial for you guys. Yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to talk about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier down below, please do so in the comments. I would love to chat about it and discuss anything with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to. Yeah, watch my previous videos if you want to. Let me know what kind of videos you want to see from me next. Bye, everyone.